Part 4 consists of 2 tasks. You'll hear 5 short extracts in which people are talking about falling asleep in a public place. Look at Task 1. For questions 21 to 25, choose from the list A to H the reason each gives for falling asleep in the place they did. Now look at Task 2. For questions 26 to 30, choose from the list A to H how each speaker felt afterwards. While you listen, you must complete both tasks. In the exam, you have 45 seconds to look at Part 4. Speaker 1.
I'm not particularly keen on flying, so when I toured Australia with a friend, we ended up taking a lot of long-distance trains. To keep within our tight budget, we'd catch night trains at unearthly hours to avoid the expense of booking into hotels. So it was that we found ourselves dropping off to sleep at a station in the outback, waiting for the early morning train to Sydney. Obviously, I'd never have done it if I'd been travelling alone, because I'd have felt at risk, but it seemed a safe enough place, and very clean. Anyway, there wasn't much going on there, so at least it made the night go quickly.
Speaker 2.
I was working on a global product launch for my company with reps attending from all over the world, so it had to run smoothly, quite stressful. Part of the event involved arranging corporate hospitality, and one option was having a foot massage. After all my hard work, I decided to have one too, and then dozed off in the chair halfway through. Luckily, they let me sleep while they finished the other guests. It should have been refreshing, but having slept sitting up, I woke up with a stiff neck, and the pain lasted several days. I must have been exhausted, though.
Speaker 3.
I was in a long-distance yacht race, a personal challenge for me. We'd sailed 9 days non-stop, all the time rushing around on deck, so as soon as we'd pulled into a harbour and moored up, we were so desperately tired that we got our heads down right there on deck for some sleep. Bliss. But we awoke later to the sight of a huge, smelly vessel moored up beside us, and we quickly realised to our horror that our sleeping bags were damp from exposure to salt spray. It said something about the state we were in, that we were mistaken for the crew of the ship next door.
Speaker 4.
I just finished university and had gone to visit some old friends. I remember one evening we went to see one of our favourite bands performing. I knew it'd be a long night of dancing and generally being on my feet, but for some reason I was already flagging soon after we arrived, so I thought I'd better take a rest. And I actually managed to fall asleep on top of one of the speakers. Goodness knows how. Anyway, I rather expected my friends would find it highly amusing, but in fact they were quite sniffy and a bit embarrassed. So I've decided they're just not my friends anymore.
Speaker 5.
My friends live out by quite a remote beach. Since we hadn't seen each other for ages, we sat on the sands and talked until late. Then we lit a fire, and as the last bus had already left and we were some distance from the nearest town, and no one could be bothered to move anyway, we just all fell asleep right there. The next morning they told me people living there often did that weekends, so I felt good that I'd had the chance to join in. It made me wish I could do the same where I live. Not very likely in my cold, wind-blown town, though.
Now play the recording again. That is the end of the test.